I'm a big proponent of hand-cut dovetails, so I think it's a way for us woodworkers to show off our talents. Now there's a couple areas that really I look for when I look at somebody's dovetails to make sure or to see if they're hand-cut. And that area is the pin area. That's what we're talking about right here. This is the pin. And this is the specific area we're talking about, the front edge of that pin. There's no available jigs on the market today that can cut that at less than 1/4 inch in width. And that's because they're all done with a router. And all the routers have 1/4 inch bit is the shank on the bit that's the smallest diameter. So that has to be at least 1/4 inch in order for the bit to travel through the slot. So we need to get below that. And until now, I've only known how to do that with hand cutting them by setting up and using the saws and hand cutting the pieces all the way through. But I've come up with a jig that I'm going to show you today that actually does this for us. And it really works slick. So let's take a look. Now we've done our layout. We're going to go over to the router table and I'll show you the jig. So this is the router jig that I was telling you about. It's all made with plywood material, things you might have around your shop. This is an oak strip that runs in the track that the miter gauge would run in. And what you see here are a couple different fences. This is fences are both set up on 12-degree angles. That's the angle that we choose to do our dovetails at. Now, if you want to use 14, 7, 9, whatever, that's up to you. You'll just have to set those angles in at a different position. When I first built this, I did a wide area in between thinking that I might use different router bits, 1/2 inch, 3/4, things like that. What I found over using it over the time is that a 1/2 inch router bit works best. So in order to set it up to where I could use the jig to actually do my layout work or match my layout work, I went back and put a 1/4 inch piece of plywood in between, tacked it on both sides, and then set it in position and made the cut through it. So the strip that you see in the center is exactly at 1/2 inch and matches my router bit. And you'll see where that comes into play as we start using the piece. So we're going to slide it down and take a look at it. Now the circle that you've seen in the back is an area that we use to adjust the piece up and down. So it happens to fit with my router lift so I can get right in here with a wrench to raise and lower the bit. Now I've gone ahead and done that already so we won't fool with it. So here's our piece that we use for layout. Now one thing that's a little different on here, you'll see I've got marks on both sides, and that's going to help me when it comes time to use the router. So this is our workpiece, and this is the fence that we showed set at a 12-degree angle. We're going to bring the piece in, and we're going to use, since this track is exactly 1/2 inch, we're going to use it to make our cut. Wherever this goes, so will our router bit. And we're going to line this first mark right up at the edge of that cut. Hold that in place, add a couple clamps, and we'll make our first pass over that router. Now you can see that we're on the appropriate angle. We're set up. Now we might be a little different from our layout line, but that's not a big deal because we're going to come in. The whole point here is to make these areas right here, this pin area, less than 1/4 inch. So we've got our first area set in, and we can go through now, and since we're on this side of the jig, and make those cuts here, here, and here. And we're going to do that in the same manner we just did. You notice that I had the router bit set to the height of my scribe line. Again, all you need to do is line up that line right on that edge, and you're ready for the next pass. So there's our cut on one side of the dovetail, and here's what's neat. To make the other side of the cut, we're just going to move our piece over to the opposite side and repeat the same processes. Okay. All right, so I've moved to the other side of the jig, and we're going to do the exact same thing. There's our layout line. I'm going to line it right up with that groove and make the first cut. Now, after I make this cut, you might see that there's a little scrap area left in between. If so, we're going to have to clean that out on the next pass. So there's our second pass, and we see right here that we have this amount of material that has to be cleaned up. Well, I'm going to go through and make the opposite cuts all the way down through, again here and here and here, and then I'll show you the layout to you, and we'll come back and we'll talk about removing this material. Now, there's our layout. And what's interesting in here, before I get this area removed, is this is our pin area. And look, we've got our pin area cut exactly down to where it's about 1/8 of an inch. Now, you can take this down to where it would be classified as a pin dovetail. Now, if you missed your line, it's very simple to go back, adjust the workpiece over towards the router bit a little bit more, and finish that cut one more time, making it even thinner. I'm going to set up, and I'm going to take this material away that's waste, and I'll show you the finished product. And right there's our completed project. You can see all the areas are cut down. We've got a nice small area here. So with the through dovetail now, using a router in this scenario, we can get this pin area down below 1/4 inch, something those commercially available jigs just can't quite do.